Shortly after the death of Pope Francis, we reported on the prospect that a new pope might just let a few rays of sunshine into that vast and heavily guarded treasure trove, and maybe let a few secrets out. Specifically, what the Vatican knows about extraterrestrial visitors and how the Vatican knows it. It turns out Pope Leo XIV has a spiritual connection to the Vatican's long history of astronomical research, and a personal connection to a land where mysterious phenomena aren't confined to the heavens. They are literally carved into the ground. I'm going to dig into all of this, chapter and verse, in this jam-packed hour-long special on the connection between the Vatican and whatever truth may be out there. So let's get started. I sure didn't think when I got up today that I'd be covering a European election. But how often do just 133 men, just men, pick a leader for 1.4 billion people of all genders and races and cultures around the world? We officially have a new pope, and if you had Cardinal Bob from Chicago in your office pool, congrats. Until about 9 hours ago, an American pope seemed about as likely as a female pope. But now, as you may have heard, Cardinal Robert Prevost, holder of both U.S. and Peruvian citizenship, has become Pope Leo XIV. And that name is a very big reason we are taking our true crime hats off tonight and putting on our mystery hats, or shall I say our mystery miters. Okay. A lot has been made already about why the successor of Peter and the immediate successor of Francis took the name Leo. The last Pope Leo ruled for 25 years at the end of the 19th century. He's known as the social justice pope, using the ultimate pulpit to speak up for workers' rights and economic fairness. In fact, the Vatican has now confirmed the new pope picked his new name for that very reason. But you know what else Pope Leo XIII did? He established the Vatican Observatory, cementing the Church's long-standing fascination with the heavens. Not just heaven, either. Even now, the Vatican operates a state-of-the-art telescope system on the outskirts of Rome and Mount Graham in Arizona. Vatican astronomers collaborate with astronomers in leading institutions worldwide. Their findings, their methods, and their research, like all Vatican records, are preserved for the ages, you guessed it, in the Vatican archives. And they could help answer an ancient debate. Whether centuries-old sightings of angels and other heavenly beings were actually extraterrestrials, non-human visitors from somewhere else in the universe, you know, like the Tic Tacs that we've been seeing lately. Aliens, or angels, or anything you call them all. That's captivated UFO researchers and conspiracy theorists since the last Pope Leo wore that hat. And when Francis died, many hoped that the transition would bring about an opening of the archive doors. Pope Francis, by the way, just last fall authorized an expansion of the Vatican archives and library, which already comprise 50 miles of shelving. And since this is the 21st century, archivists are scrambling to digitize everything that's down there. The books, the files, even the parchment papers. The hunt for proof of alien life in the Vatican files picked up steam in 2023 when a former U.S. intelligence official named David Grush told Congress that the Vatican had been involved in a cover-up. David Grush later provided more details to News Nation's Ross Coulthart, and here is some of their conversation.
So let's start from the very beginning. You say it's a 90-year cover-up.
Just about, yeah.
90 years?
1933 was the first recovery in Europe, in Magenta, Italy. They recovered a partially intact vehicle.
It's long been known that the regime of dictator Benito Mussolini documented numerous UAP during this time. This internal memo from the Italian secret services includes crude drawings of the UAPs. It's true, it's real.
Yeah, that actually happened. Italian government moved it to secure air base in Italy for the rest of kind of the fascist regime until 1944, 1945. And, you know, the Pope Pius XII back-channeled that.
So the Vatican was involved?
Yeah, and told the Americans what the Italians had, and we ended up scooping it.
So let me be very clear about this. You're saying that the Catholic Church, the Vatican, they know about the existence of non-human intelligence on this planet?
Certainly.
A spokesperson for the archives told the Catholic News Service, and I quote, "I don't know where this Grush got the information. One can laugh at it," end quote. But is it laughable to think that the Vatican holds secret information on the existence of alien life forms? For more on that, I'm joined by the perfect guest tonight. Danny Sheehan is an attorney and former general counsel to the U.S. Jesuit headquarters in Washington. In the 1970s, he was tapped by President Carter to contact the Vatican about what they knew about UFOs. He's also the founder of the New Paradigm Institute, which informs the public about UFO phenomena. And next week, he'll be in Washington for a hearing with the chair of the task force on the declassification of federal secrets. Danny Sheehan, thank you for joining me. You are the perfect guest tonight in this nexus of the news and then the mystery that this show has been covering, and that is the mystery of UAPs and unidentified flying objects. Why, first of all, take me back. Why did President Carter want to reach out to the Vatican?
Well, President Carter, when he was governor of Georgia, actually saw a UFO. Not something distant in the sky like a twinkling star, but, you know, the length of a football field away. He was at a Lions Club meeting when he was governor, and he and 11 other people saw a UFO craft a football field distance away. So as soon as he was elected president, one of the very first things he did was send for the head of the Central Intelligence Agency and ask him to come to Plains, Georgia, and brief the president-elect on the UFO issue. It turns out that CIA agent, that CIA director at that time was George H.W. Bush, appointed by Gerald Ford when he took over after Nixon resigned. And the fact is, George H.W. Bush refused to brief the president, saying that the president had no need to know, and therefore he wasn't going to give him the information. So because of that, what President Carter did was he contacted the head of the Science and Technology Committee of the House of Representatives and asked them to set up a Congressional Research Service investigation of all of the documents and evidence that was in the possession of our government about the UFO phenomenon and any extraterrestrial life form that might be responsible for them. And that was who contacted me at the Jesuit headquarters to have me contact the Vatican to get whatever information the Vatican had about the UFO phenomenon and about extraterrestrial life so we could provide that to the president. So I got authority from the Jesuit order that was my base at that time in the headquarters to send the letter to the Vatican and ask for those files.
Well, here we are a half century later, and we have a new pope who seems to have this sort of slight connection, at least to the scientific heavens anyway. And I'm wondering if you think it's going to make any difference. Do you think that this new pope will actually help UFO enthusiasts and others gain access to whatever secrets lie beneath the Vatican?
I do believe so, yes. I believe that he has a history, as did Leo XIII, that preceded him, actually in trying to establish the relationship between the cutting edge of science and the most profound fundamental theological concepts of a metaphysical dimension that is not accessible by most people. That's the key to this man. He is a person who wants to bring together science and theology to be able to bring the Catholic Church into the 21st century so we can begin to adjust the institutions of our planet to cope with the reality that there's an extraterrestrial non-human civilization that surrounds us, and the fact that they've been coming and going from our planet at least since the detonation of the first nuclear explosion in 1945. So I think that he is going to be the disclosure pope in the same way that we are going to have a disclosure of what the American government knows about this in the next handful of years.
Boy, you got me there. That's something that a lot of people have, obviously journalists, but a lot of people have been waiting for, and I hope you're right. But I do have this question. Should the Vatican be concerned about any kinds of revelations or truth about aliens? Doesn't it contradict the teachings of the church if there are really aliens out there?
Well, what it does is it's different than the earliest first and second century theology that was developed by the church at a point in time when 99.9% of all the people on the planet were completely illiterate and didn't travel more than 50 miles from the place where they were born. So that the formulation of these esoteric insights that the church has about the nature of human consciousness, our capabilities to engage in telepathic communication, the communion of the saints, if you will, life everlasting, which has to do with potential reincarnation, the ability to levitate, for example, like some monks in the Catholic monasteries are capable of doing, like Jesus walked on water, the ability to transmute matter from, for example, water into wine. These are capabilities that deal with the kind of deepest scientific secrets about the relationship of human consciousness and the subatomic nature of reality. This is what's in the process of coming forward, and that's why many of the institutions of power on the planet right now are so reluctant to open up that box. But the church has a fundamental responsibility to be the ushers in of a perception of our relationship to the universe, in our human consciousness to the evolution of our species. So I believe that the church is going to play a major role in doing this, and they've issued a statement back in November of 2009 stating that in light of the fact that we've now got these new spaceborne telescopes and they're discovering more and more of these new exoplanets, it's now clear, as they said, that much sooner than we had previously anticipated, we're going to discover that life exists elsewhere in the universe. And therefore, the time has arrived for the beginning of that all-important conversation about the profound philosophical and theological questions that are posed to our human family by the discovery of life elsewhere in the universe. That's the moment that we have reached now, and this will be the Pope who governs the largest single denomination on our planet of 1.4 billion people to usher in this larger reality and integrate it with our sense of ourselves in the universe.
Danny, the one thing that I learned that was so surprising to me, and correct me if I'm wrong here, is that the archives don't belong to the Vatican. They belong to the Pope. And so he is one person who can wave a magic wand and open that incredible labyrinth of information. But I also understand that there are politics that play out in the Vatican. It's just like any other organization. Could he be hamstrung by politics in the Vatican? Can he really just wave a wand and make it happen?
Well, we'll see. This really has to do with the kind of disposition of power that's within the College of Cardinals and within the Vatican structures themselves. Just like any president coming into office and discovering that there are different agencies and different protocols that are operational that the chief executive has to respect in order to get anything done, that Pope Leo XIV is going to discover that he has to navigate the power structures. He's going to have to become intimately familiar with them, but he has spent some substantial amount of time in the Vatican. He's quite familiar with some of those power dynamics, and I believe that he's going to try to lead the entire human family, not just the 1.4 billion Catholics, but the entire human family into a better understanding of our place in the universe and the relationship that our human species is going to play in relationship to the entire non-human civilization that surrounds us outside of our solar system. This is an extraordinary period of history that we're living through. The people that are listening to this program are going to be alive when this disclosure is made, not only by the United States government, but by the Vatican and by the leaders of the Jewish faith and the Hebrew, the Hindu faith, the Buddhist faith, all of the leaders of these major denominations on our planet know that our human family has much greater capabilities than we've been allowed to know about, and they know a lot more about the existence of this extraterrestrial civilization than they have yet publicly revealed. This is what's getting ready to happen in the next 5 to 6 years.
You know, David Grush, as the whistleblower testifying before Congress, talked about a cover-up, that the U.S. government has been involved in a decades-long cover-up. The exact language was akin to, it's an alien aircraft, crashed aircraft recovery program that collects, stores, and re-engineers what they find, and that they are non-human dead pilots. All I have to say to that is that it is fascinating. I don't think it's impossible, but it sure is difficult to have upwards of 10 administrations since Carter all keep these secrets. And only David Grush is the one whistleblower who's come out and said something. And that's usually the story about a vast conspiracy. The more vast it gets, the more hard it is to contain. So why would something this explosive be so perfectly contained for so very, very long?
Well, actually, there are over 40 top secret classified experts from deep inside the federal government and various agencies who have already come forward and testified in secret behind closed doors to the Senate Intelligence Committee. So it's not just David Grush that is confirming this. There are all kinds of people, including Jay Stratton, who was the head of the Advanced Weapons Special Access Program inside the Pentagon, who has been in charge of trying to develop a weapon system out of the technology that's being recovered from these craft, so that our government can establish full spectrum military dominance over the planet. So this is something that has to be addressed. This is not a legitimate objective of our national security to engage in that. And we have to be able to reach out and establish treaties with the other nation states, including Russia and China, in India and other major players, in all the NATO countries, to establish a treaty whereby we will all agree not to use any of this technology recovered from these craft for a weapon system. This is a critical thing that needs to be done. That's why our New Paradigm Institute in Washington, D.C. is dedicated not only to securing full disclosure of what our government knows about it, but also helping to formulate a new paradigm post-contact worldview, so that we can understand the value of our human family in the hierarchy of beings in the universe, so that we don't consider ourselves like some primitive tribe that gets discovered, in 1955, that there's a world outside of their island, so that their entire civilization collapsed, be that as it was. We have to start taking concrete steps to move step by step to adjust our major institutions, our geopolitical institutions, our economic institutions, our religious institutions, to accommodate this new information that is going to be made available, so that we can not only respect the other civilization, but we can be respected by them, so that we can, in fact, engage in a mutually respectful and mutually beneficial relationship between our two cultures. This is what has to be governed by people such as Pope Leo XIV now, and the presidents of our country.
Well, let's hope that he will be the Pope of disclosure, or the disclosure Pope, as you put it, and we'll definitely have to have you back the minute we start hearing more from him. Thank you so much, Danny Sheehan. It's been good to talk to you. I appreciate this.
I appreciate it, Ashley. Thank you so much. Anytime.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our News Nation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.